Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. On this week's show, Jeff Goldblum is getting wicked, a surprising fast food sequel might be on the way, we break down the latest news on 2 upcoming Disney Plus MCU series, Gerard Butler's next movie looks just plain awful, Santa Claus just isn't ready to retire, oh ho ho ho, and we find out what happens when fairy tale characters don't get to live happily ever after. So join us as we discuss all this and everything else that happened this week in Geek. Love ya. Get home safe, guys. Peace. Welcome to Geekcentric, home of the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Kev, and if you're joining us for the first time, well, we are Geekcentric, a podcast covering the world of movies, TV shows, toys and collectibles, gaming, and all things Geekcentric. We're back with another edition of This Week in Geek, where we look at all the latest news and trailers from the Geekiverse. Of course, I can't do this alone. Joining me on the show, they carve up the news like a pumpkin and give trailer opinions nice and mean. The only thing I like more than them is the fun of Halloween. I love hosting This Week in Geek with them. It's always like a party. Candy is fun in bite-sized Halloween form, and my absolute favorite is Smarties. Darcy, Nate, how are we this evening?
Oh my gosh, Kevin. I mean, when you came on obviously we're an audio platform, so people can't see your face right now, but when you came in, I was like, oh, I did that noise. And then I was just like, who's that ho-ho-ho looking at me back here, looking beautiful, all cleaned up. Very Tim Allen of you right now, of the Santa Claus's variety. You're looking,
unfortunately,
nice and clean.
Unfortunately, my beard won't grow back as fast as his does in those movies, but I really wish it would. But yes, we are recording this the night after Halloween, which for anybody who listens to the show is a pretty big deal around the Hudson household. We spend the whole night before Halloween carving up pumpkins for our annual Pumpkin Wars competition between my wife and I. And so I'm happy to announce that after 3 straight heartbreaking losses, I finally recaptured the crown. I'm finally the Pumpkin King. I won with a trio of witches in the form of the Sanderson sisters, which kind of works out well because that's what my wife and daughter and I all dressed up as this year, hence shaving my face, because my rule for Geekcentric, especially when we were recording fun boxings and everything, every once in a while I'd have to shave the beard to get into character, and my motto was always commit to the bit. So there was no way I was dressing up as Kathy and Jimmy, Mary, with a full beard on. So that's been a lot of fun getting used to over the last 24 hours or so, especially for my little daughter, who doesn't seem to recognize her dad without his scruff right now, which is fun and sad all at the same time.
I will say I didn't vote for you. I'm so sorry, Kevin. I voted for Mars Attacks. The intricacy in the brain work on that pumpkin, I was so blown away by, but then I think Alien was a close second, or Predator was a close second, where I was just like, okay, yeah, that's that. I was deciding between those two.
Sarah and I had a feeling it was going to be either between the Sanderson sisters, just because it was a bigger carve and people love those characters, or the awesome work she did on Mars Attacks. Because as soon as I saw her starting on that one, I was like, oh, this is going to beat me. This is your ticket to 4 straight wins. So, and I mean, it was pretty close. It was pretty darn close. Although I'm happy to announce that out of nearly 100 votes, my pumpkins got well over 50% of those votes. So I reigned supreme this year. I had a good run, and we've been saying this for years now. But we're striving to, maybe going into next year's competition, learning a bit of the what do they call it, Darce? The shaving?
The shaving and shading techniques they do, where you don't cut all the way through, but you let the light pass through the flesh of the pumpkin. I don't know. It's fancy stuff.
I'm going to look up some YouTube tutorials. We got to elevate it at some point, because just like with our outdoor decor, holy moly, I thought years past was a lot of work to set up and tear down, but this year was quite the process. We're up to 8 animatronics, You know, 25 tombstones in our little graveyard. We've got 2 fog machines going. We've got a strobe light. You know, it's quite something. Darcy got to witness it firsthand this year.
Yeah, and I think the best part of your whole setup thing is that you have a hay guy for your Halloween setup, just so you can hide and create a little walkway for your haunted driveway. It's having never been big into Halloween myself, I can honestly say that I would be skipping your house as a child trick-or-treating. I'd be like, you know what? I don't need that candy bar. I'll go to another house and be fine. Get one there.
We definitely saw a few of those kiddos down by the bottom of the driveway. Our friends Eric and Leanne stopped by with their 2 kiddos before they went out trick-or-treating, and poor little Maeve, their 3-year-old daughter, was just in tears, crying as all these animatronics are shooting at her and moving around. So, but that's why we do it. We do it for the tears and the cries and the screams and the laughs. The neighborhood was really quite excited to see the big setup and everything, so that was a lot of fun. And we've already got many plans underway for making it bigger and better next year. But before we jump into the news, I just wanted to ask at the top of the show, I said my favorite Halloween candy is a little fun-sized box of Smarties. I just love Smarties. Those are maybe for any listeners outside of Canada. They're like M&Ms, only like 10 times better. But so guys, we don't trick-or-treat much anymore at our age, but when you were out there, what was something you loved seeing get dropped into the old pillowcase?
Now, funny or not, you mentioned how the Americans know Smarties as the rockets up here. And I got to say, everyone complains about getting those chalky little white discs, but I eat them up so fast. There's something about rockets that just hits right no matter what time of day.
You ever snort them, Darcy?
No.
No? Okay.
Food
You're
is
missing
for your
out. You're
mouth,
missing
not
out.
your nose. No.
I think for myself, it's a toss-up. Obviously, Reese's Cups are just such a delight. The little orange cups to see. But I think if I had to go with it, I'd go with bite-sized Snickers. I think they are, or whole-size Snickers. You know, sometimes you go to the rich neighborhoods and you get the full chocolate bars, and it's absolutely incredible.
Well, so that's what we did this year. We handed out full-size chocolate bars to everyone. So we ended up purchasing 144 and gave out almost right around 100 of them this year. So that is by far our biggest turnout. And I will say that the most popular choices amongst the kiddos, Aero, which I've never liked, so I was surprised by that.
Good Aero bar is awesome.
I know. Yeah. I would never. It's never done it for me.
You got to let it melt in your mouth.
Nobody likes O. Henry's. We've got about 25 O. Henrys left. Yeah, it's nuts.
That's a shame. Well, literally, it's nuts. And caramel and chocolate, and it's delicious. You're missing out, children. But I gotta say, like, if I was one of those kids walking through all those animatronics, and I get to the front and I get a little tiny little half mini chocolate bar or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, these people spent all their money on these animatronics. They're not going to hand it. So the fact that you doubled down and you handed out the full chocolate bars, kudos to you. I got to visit next time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We always love people stopping by, and we figured that's what we were telling the kiddos. Hey, you made it all this way. Congrats. Here's your full-size chocolate bar. Because we even had a little scarecrow that sits at the front door with a bowl. And the kids would stick their hands in, and then all of a sudden he shoots up and screams at them. And so it's, you've earned your full-size chocolate bar. Way to go. That's awesome. Good on you. But that was a lot of fun. But enough about Halloween. We're moving on into November. It's going to be a big time for Marvel, which we'll discuss a little bit here. But yeah, I think it's time to just jump right into the news.
It's all about the details.
Alrighty, our first story comes from Mark Malkin at Variety. Jeff Goldblum is in final talks to join the Wicked movies as the Wizard. Jeff Goldblum is following the yellow brick road. I'm really mad because that was the line I was going to use in my intro, but the article stole it, and I didn't want to take the guy's work. The actor is in final talks to play the Wizard in John M. Chu's upcoming Wicked movies, Variety has learned exclusively. The latest casting news comes just over a month after Variety first reported that Fiyero will be played by Bridgerton star Jonathan Bailey. Chu's two-part feature adaptation is headlined by Ariana Grande as Glinda and Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba. The Universal Pictures films are set for release on Christmas in 2024 and 2025. Wicked is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, telling the story of how Elphaba became the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda the Good Witch. In a quote, "We decided to give ourselves a bigger canvas and make not just one Wicked movie, but two," Chu wrote in a statement when the studio announced the adaptation would come in 2 parts. "With more space, we can tell the story of Wicked as it was meant to be told, while bringing even more depth and surprise to the journeys for these beloved characters." So, now that we know the project will take place over 2 movies and the cast is starting to round out, are we excited for this stage-to-screen adaptation? Has anybody seen the stage play?
Yeah, I actually I've seen it a couple times. I think it's a really great idea to actually split this up into 2 movies. I think there's a lot of people out there that would probably look at this and go like, yeah, they just want more money, more movies. Why are they stretching it out? But I think with the way that the story goes, if you've ever seen Wicked before, it really does work well in a 2-act structure. So for them to kind of give us all the setup and then give us sort of the follow through with the second movie, I think it'll be good. I think the only thing that is possibly a bit worrisome is if there's going to be enough for general audiences who haven't seen the original musical to understand why they're stopping halfway in the middle, if there's going to be enough in that sort of halfway point. But we'll have to wait and see how they sort of change things around. I'm just stoked for Jeff Goldblum. More Jeff Goldblum in literally anything and everything. And I think him as the Wizard is such a good call. I'm really stoked for it.
Mm-hmm. I again also have seen the stage show a few times, and I totally agree with you. Breaking it up in 2 parts kind of follows the arc of the story from the stage play, where it stops for Act 1 into Act 2 type thing. So I love that, and I love the Jeff Goldblum casting. He's so charismatic, and we've seen what he can do with these quirky characters. And the Wizard of Oz, I think, is up there in terms of quirky. I mean, creating this whole facade of the city and seeing the reason behind it all. It's going to be really fun to explore that with his character. And, everyone else in the movie seems so far seems really solid, and I can't wait to see the story again. I
mean, especially after, seeing her sing in Pinocchio with Cynthia Erivo as she's playing Elphaba. Is that correct in this? Yeah. I'm so much more excited after seeing that that musical number, even as brief as it was in that movie. And for say what you will about that movie, I'm really excited to see her in this, and just to see. I mean, frick, Ariana Grande as the Good Witch is just so perfect. So they're knocking it out of the park with the casting on this. I think honestly, let's get to a trailer. Let's get into a trailer time at some point, and we'll see. Hopefully they can pull it off.
I mean, with the movie, the first of 2 movies not coming out till Christmas 2024, we might have to wait just a little longer. But I do agree that certain casting here is just so perfect, and definitely has me, who we all know, not the biggest musical fan.
He hates musicals.
I hate's a strong word, but I might save it for things like musicals. But no, I do think the casting, especially like you said, Nate, Ariana Grande, I just think is a young Glinda is so perfect. She's got just the perfect mousy voice and positive, cheery attitude that I think she's going to be fantastic in that role. Now, that's, of course, I know nothing about the play as I haven't seen it, so I've got lots of exciting surprises ahead, I believe, with this movie when it finally does come our way. Now, speaking of surprises, our next story comes from Ryan O'Rourke at Collider. Here's a sequel I never thought I'd see, as 25 years later, we might be returning to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Nearly 25 years after the release of Kel Mitchell and Kenan Thompson's iconic 90s comedy Good Burger. Iconic might be a strong word there.
It's iconic. Don't you dare.
Okay, fine. Fair enough. I enjoyed it. We may be returning to the home of the Good Burger. The original Good Burger was the culmination of Thompson and Mitchell's height at Nickelodeon after they became standouts on the hit series All That, where the Good Burger skit originated, and they later earned their own mega popular series in Kenan and Kel. Good Burger was the next logical step forward, bringing their comedy to the big screen in all its wacky glory. The duo has been hinting at a potential return to Good Burger for some time, even joining forces for a bit on The Tonight Show based on the film back in 2015. Since then, they've time and again reiterated their interest in reviving the film in some capacity, whether that be as a series or as a sequel film. During a recent interview with Entertainment Tonight, Thompson shocked everyone, saying that the script was ready for a Good Burger 2, and that the sequel is much closer than anyone could have imagined. Now, Kyle Mitchell brought the receipts, doubling down on the news with a new Instagram video showing off the script in a massive tease for the Legacy sequel. Man, they're throwing around a lot of strong words in this article. Now we're cooking. Table read went really good. Good vibes, good laughs, good burgers, Mitchell's post reads, showing just how far along the project is. On Sunday, Thompson spoke about the work that's been going on behind the scenes to get the film done, telling ET, we're getting really close on Good Burger 2. It's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen soon. We're going to figure out when the pocket of time will be to shoot, but I think it's going to happen. It's closer than ever. So, guys, I really enjoyed the movie as a kid, but this sequel does surprise me just a little. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm a dude. He's a dude. She's a dude, because we're all dudes. Dude, I'm honestly, it's funny because like literally just before we started recording, Darcy and I are talking about this, and I'm like, are we looking at this through some like, mustard tinted glasses, ketchup stained glasses right now, where we're just like, that movie was so good, but then if we were to go back and watch it right now, like it's probably not that good. I don't know, man. I think it's really exciting. I think it's really cool. This is a movie that sort of gave these two people their careers. And, I don't know really what Kel Mitchell has been up to so much, but obviously Kenan Thompson with his run on SNL and just kind of coming off of this movie from all that. Like I don't know, man. There's just something about that whole nostalgia play that I really hope they have a lot of fun with. I think my only hope for this movie is that it's a one and done, that it's a celebration of all things that we remember. I don't want it to become like the Good Burger cinematic universe. I don't want it to spin off into a series. Just give us a really great celebration of what we enjoyed as kids, and a little bit of a reminder as well. And I also don't want it to be like a Force Awakens that I know a lot of these reboots can be, where it's like we're handing off the Good Burger to a new duo, like a new, bringing in two younger actors. I don't want that at all. Just give me my Kenan and Kel, and let's have a good fun time for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I enjoyed it when I was a kid, and that was probably the only time I've watched it because I don't remember much of it. So again, I don't know how good that first movie was, but there's a lot of hope with these reboots or returns to these old franchises that there's potential to show what, getting older is like. And with the generation, like that's what we are all focusing on now, having that brought to light in a humorous way with these two characters, I think is a great time for this to come back. And if they go that route, I'm fully on board.
And I think it leaves a lot of space open for, maybe the Amanda Bynes show comes back. Maybe we get her back in the... Probably not. No, unfortunately. I don't know if she'll be coming back. But that would be pretty dope if she was like an extra character, like thrown in there at the end. I don't know. Do something. I don't know. Maybe I do.
So
I do.
You do want a cinematic universe stemming around these. You're a liar.
I'm pretty sure she's going to school for something now. I don't think acting is anywhere on her mind.
No. Okay.
And I'm just trying to picture what these two characters 25 years later looks like. Are they're still working at Good Burger?
Yeah.
And
they're not even managers.
Like manager.
No.
Yeah, they're still just running the fryer. Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, it sounds like a project like this is coming from the right place, at least in that it's a passion project, and they're excited about it. And I think, at least if you're starting off from that basis, what harm can something like this do? And like you said, there's some of these come around and you're just like, damn, that was better than it had any right to be. And maybe one of the most exciting parts about Good Burger 2 coming out is that it's the perfect excuse to go and revisit the original 25 years later for the first time. So that's kind of cool too.
And you can see the marketing ties already. Like, there's going to be a Good Burger pop-up location. Maybe they partner with one of the major brands of, Burger King or McDonald's or what have you, and do a Good Burger tie-in. Like, it's perfect for it. There's so much money to be made off of this, and I'm going to spend it. I'll be there in line, ready to buy the Good Burger merchandise, 100%.
Yeah, we saw that recently with Moobies from the View Askew universe doing something like that. So yeah, I 100% can see a little partnership somewhere, and hopefully we get a few of those locations up here in Canada, as that's sometimes a tricky case, but not with the movies and everything. So definitely something to keep our eyes and ears open for, and it sounds like it's going to be sooner than later. So we'll just have to wait and see. Let's move into our final stories, which features news about upcoming MCU shows on Disney Plus. Honestly, it's crazy doing the show week in, week out, how we're not rehashing anything when we say
every
there's
week.
new Marvel news. Every week.
We could just become a Marvel podcast if we really wanted to.
I mean, they're out there, right? And there's no shortage of topics to talk about. Let's jump right into our first one here. It comes from Valerie Ettenhofer at Slash Film. Marvel Studios is giving Vision his own series on Disney Plus. We have not seen the last of Paul Bettany's Vision, as a WandaVision spin-off series tentatively titled Vision Quest appears to be in the works at Disney Plus and Marvel Studios. Just as WandaVision gave viewers a front row seat to Wanda Maximoff's state of mind during a pivotal time in her life, it sounds like the new series will focus on Vision's quest to find himself and his memories after the events of WandaVision. Sounds like the series will likely have ties to White Vision, the version of the character who appeared during the climax of WandaVision, absorbing Wanda's own Vision's memories during an epic showdown before disappearing. This new version of Vision was created by Sword using the original Vision's body, so if he now has all of the other Vision's memories, you'd think he'd be pretty close to the same old hero we know and love. Many different versions of Vision exist in Marvel Comics lore, however, so there's still plenty of material the show could pull from. So I really wanted to just turn to our resident Marvel expert on this one. What version of Vision would you expect or want to see in this new series, Darce? And how will the show connect to other characters from WandaVision, including Agatha and maybe Scarlet Witch?
If anything, I think it's funny that these two stories were announced in the same week, because I feel like we're kind of going in reverse order with the MCU's Vision arc, in that originally in the comics, the brain patterns that Vision got and built his whole personality around were the same brain patterns as Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man. So the announcement of these two going hand in hand leads me to think that maybe we'll see the introduction of Wonder Man in this series before his own Wonder Man series comes out. So that's kind of where I'm thinking, is that this Vision is trying to figure out how to live as a human like the other Vision was, because he is so much more of the robotic side, not so much of that mystic side that Thor and the Infinity Stones brought into him. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'd love to see there is a storyline for a while where Vision went off and made his own synthezoid family with a wife and 2 kids and a dog and everything like that, which was a very cool exploration, but I doubt we'll go that route, having just had WandaVision having a similar plot of the idyllic family life. So again, lots of possibilities for Vision, but I feel like with the announcements so tied together, it's going to have to do something with Wonder Man kind of helping him, or at least shaping his mind going forward.
Okay, well, speaking of Wonder Man, why don't I'll quickly introduce our second story here. We can sort of see how those two might come together. This story comes from Adam B. Very, which every time I read that name, it sounds like it's fake. I don't know why, but he's over at Variety. Marvel's Wonder Man casts Yahya Abdul-Mateen II to lead the Disney Plus series as Marvel Studios has its Wonder Man. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is set to join the Disney Plus series Wonder Man as Simon Williams, who transforms into the titular superhero. It will be Abdul-Mateen's third major comic book character after playing the villain Black Manta in 2018's Aquaman and Dr. Manhattan in HBO's 2019 series Watchmen, for which he won an Emmy. He's already set to reprise Black Manta in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, currently scheduled for a Christmas 2023 release. Filmmaker Destin Daniel Cretton, who directed Marvel's 2021 feature Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings, is developing Wonder Man, and head writer Andrew Guest of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Community is brought in as part of Cretton's overall deal with Marvel Studios and Onyx Collective. Creighton may direct as well, although he's got a very crowded plate, as he's set to direct 2025's Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, and he's expected to helm the prospective, though unannounced, Shang-Chi sequel. In the comic books, Williams is the son of a wealthy industrialist whose company, Williams Innovations, is run out of business due to competition from Stark Industries. In desperation, Simon turns to Baron Zemo, who gives Simon superpowers and directs him to infiltrate and then betray the Avengers. Eventually, however, Simon joins the Avengers in earnest and is even a founding member of the spin-off team, the West Coast Avengers. It's unclear how much or little of this storyline will actually make its way into the series. It does seem likely, though, that Williams' comic history as an actor and stunt performer will come into play in the show, as Ben Kingsley is set to return as failed actor turned reformed villain Trevor Slattery, which he originated in 2013's Iron Man 3 and reprised in Shang-Chi. Marvel Studios has not yet announced the premiere date for Wonder Man. I think I'm down for this show simply for the return of Trevor.
I love it.
But that's just exciting news in and of itself.
I'm stoked with that idea, and I think the fact that Andrew Guest is going to be leading up the writing on this, coming from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, coming from Community, it's going to be really interesting because when we look at Yahya Abdul-Mateen, coming from, first off, congrats to him for jumping from the sinking ship that is DC, hopefully coming back afloat as we discussed last week with James Gunn taking over. But awesome for him to be on the Marvel side. He is such an incredible actor, and I'm really intrigued to see what he can do with this character, because I think what the ideal with this is going to be is it's going to maybe give us some similar feels to the recent She-Hulk series, in that there's going to be some comedy vibes. There's going to be some, especially with him acting and with him supposedly, from what I was reading, he's very full of himself. He's very self-centered, but he's also very like his image kind of in almost like a Homelander way from The Boys. Like, he's all about his image and what the public thinks of him from what I was reading. So to see them play off both the light side and the dark side of that type of character, I think he's perfect for this. And it makes me really, really stoked. I think it's just one of those things where we'll have to wait and see how obviously the Marvel fandom takes to it. But I think with the fact that it feels like they are based off of what we're seeing here with who's directing it and who's coming on to create this, it feels like they might have a little bit more of a balance between the comedy and the more darker side of the MCU, and I'm really intrigued by that.
And in terms of his origin story translating to screen, I think it's a perfect time to do that. What with Sharon Carter's Power Broker being, existing in this universe with multiple forms of super soldier serum, and who knows what other, experiments have been going around to create, enhanced individuals. So I can see, instead of having Baron Zemo give him the powers, just slip in Power Broker there, and you could easily translate a lot of his story over. And again, it could still tie into that Vision storyline, because we don't know what Vision's up to at this point, and he could be going to people who portray all these individuals to help maybe break down this stuff. I mean, it's a computer. How would you go about assessing a human life if you've never lived one yourself? So there's a lot of cool dualities you could show between the two. Someone who's seen as a hero but doesn't know what a human is, and someone who's a human who wants to be a hero and doesn't have those powers. So again, the announcement of these two shows hand in hand, I think they're really going to play off each other potentially. And again, with the character history, there's potential for that. And I hope that they bring that to the screen. Well,
and Darcy, correct me if I'm wrong, Wonder Man is very similar to Superman in terms of power set. Like, he can fly, he's got heat powers.
Yeah, like a lot of that, it's power cosmic or something like that is what it is. It's one of their, kind of fix-all powers where whatever the writer decides he needs, he kind of has.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I've never been too familiar with the character himself, so I don't know his power set. He's always a side character in a lot of stuff as kind of comedic relief, or just being remembered because he's died again, because it's kind of typical for him to die and come back and then die again.
Well, I think it would be really cool if he played Vision in the MCU's version of the MCU. Right? Like I think they could really go off of that, because they both fly, and maybe that's kind of where that connection can come into play as well. Even just the idea that he can play some of these additional Marvel heroes in their version of the MCU, I think would be really, really cool, because they already appreciate all these superheroes as celebrities already, but Steve Rogers, sure, he did some stuff on the stage, and I guess he's super old now, but you're not going to get Bucky Barnes is going to come in and join a movie crew and make a film. Like, that's not him. So there's got to be some superheroes out there that will be willing to do that. And I think it'll be really interesting to see. And I think it would be really cool if they did that and they brought in other, obscure superheroes that just want to be actors that can kind of pull off with saving some budget on the CGI or whatever. They could even continue the CGI jokes of just being like, yeah, listen, our effects team's they're really struggling right now, so it actually helps if you can actually do the power in real life. Like that sort of thing. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. I think it would be really, really cool. I think the only thing with Vision is they just have to figure out how are they going to explain, kind of break it down for a general audience, because what you were just describing there, Darcy, of like, yeah, there's multiple versions of Vision, and then he gets his brainwaves sucked out and all this stuff. I'm like, I know that Marvel can make a talking tree and a raccoon normal, but at the same time, like, I'd be impressed to see how far they could take that, especially after something like Quantum Mania. We've got that coming up. Like, it seems as though they're okay with going even weirder, and I'm excited for it. I just don't know if general audiences are ready for it.
Yeah, I get nervous about that every time, Darcy explains something that's going to happen.
Didn't you say something about like a devil's anus last week?
Yeah, that's from Thor.
That's what that's called?
In Ragnarok. That's what the portal's called. It's Devil's Anus.
Wow.
I didn't just pull that out of my own
You didn't pull it out of your own Devil's Anus. Yeah.
But no, I get nervous every time Darcy tries to explain to my simpleton mind these complex comic book stories, and they all sound like they're impossible to translate to the screen, but they've done a pretty good job so far. I worry more not about how they'll make sense of these complicated ideas so much as where the hell are they going to fit this in these two new shows in their already crowded pre-2025 culmination movies that we're all sort of building towards. It's crazy to think that on top of the already loaded schedule that we've seen from things like Comic-Con and D23 this year, that they're just, we have these two shows as well, and we're just spacing them out for you in terms of announcing them. But one thing they're doing incredibly well is they're casting. I think to bring in an Emmy winner into the MCU is very exciting. Somebody who's done some great work in both good and bad superhero projects in the past is definitely an exciting prospect. But gentlemen, I think I hear a little banjo in the background, which can only mean one thing.
It's trailer time.
Alrighty, our first trailer, Ed, I'm pretty sure this is Nate's favorite trailer of the last few months. Blows out of the water the two trailers we talked about last week. This is an action thriller directed by Jean-Francois Richet and written by Charles Cumming and J.P. Davis. Of course, I'm talking about Plane, in which commercial pilot Brody Torrance completes an emergency landing after a ravaging storm damages his aircraft. The plane lands on the hostile island of Jolo in the Philippines. Soon, the passengers are taken hostage, which means he does a good job landing it. Soon, the passengers are taken hostage by the local militants of the island. While struggling to find their location and running out of time, Brody decides to enlist help from the convicted fugitive that he was transporting along his commercial flight. Together, they work together to rescue the passengers and escape the island. The film stars Gerard Butler, Mike Coulter, Yosin-An, Tony Goldwyn, Daniel Pineda, and Kelly Gale. Plane is scheduled for arrival on January 27th, 2023. Nate, when you shared this one, you had exclamation points, heart emojis, all of the good stuff. What did you think of this?
Kevin, this looks so bad. This looks... Okay, like at the end of the trailer, I wasn't sure if that was the name of the movie or just a word that was coming up to summarize how describing the movie as Plane. Like, it honestly was, I have a huge bone to pick with Lionsgate, okay? The phrase that they keep bringing up for this is survive together, die alone. Does that sound familiar to any of our lost friends here? Live together, die alone. And it's a pilot, and they crash on an island. Come on. Like, it's just such a terrible ripoff, and it looks so generic. It looks just like there's all action, no mystery. I think the only good thing I can say about this trailer is I like Gerard Butler. I do like Mike Coulter. I do like Daniela Pineda. I think this movie looks like it's going to be a great movie to watch on a plane. That's the best I can give it. It's the best compliment I can give you. Otherwise, dude, I don't know about this one. This just looks a little rough. Like it's kind of like a algorithm made it or something. I don't know.
I mean, it is a basic action movie. I will say the action itself looked like hard-hitting and violent. It kind of reminds me of like a Rambo 4, which, I enjoyed more than a lot of people from the series. But one thing they did there was they made some pretty harrowing and graphic violence, and it looks like this is ramped up with that sort of thing. I mean, Gerard Butler's fun to watch, I guess. I wasn't a huge fan of, like, Olympus Has Fallen and those movies that he did.
How many presidents did he save? How in his career? How many presidents has he saved? Like 4?
I think he saved 5? At least 3, 3 or 4. Yeah, he's.
There's going to be a president on this plane for some reason on the island. They have to save a president that just landed on the island. And dude, again, it's just one of those things where I'm just like, I watch a trailer for this and I'm like, it feels like a group of really wonderful people got together, and I'm sure they're great people, but they're like, can we get Gerard Butler for this? Can we get Mike Coulter for this, right? Like, can we get these two people? Awesome, we can? Okay, let's write the movie. Like that's what it feels like.
Let's put just a bunch of words on pieces of paper in a hat and pull out 4. Okay, we've got plane, convict, island, and action. Done. There's our movie.
There it is. Ah, man. So, again, I don't think this is anything that I'll be running out to watch unless by some happenstance they come out and getting rave reviews, but I doubt it. I don't know. Darcy, you're going to watch this one?
Are you going to be flying into the cinemas to check this one out, bud?
Honestly, I felt like I was watching a trailer from like 20 years ago, early 2000s action movie. Yeah. It's just so generic. I don't know. It's probably not going to check this one out. These generic action movies never really do it for me, and this one seems about as basic as it can get. So, yeah, probably not for me.
The problem is, like, at least what those 90s action movies had going for them was that they were, like, tongue-in-cheek and fun. They didn't take themselves too seriously, like Con Air and The Rock and stuff like that. They were fun action flicks that leaned into fun just as much as action, whereas this seems like a dour, just gritty action film with a silly premise. And so those two ideas are tough to merge, where you've got a serious tone and a ridiculous plot.
I mean, the guy's name is Brody Torrance. Brody. Like, my guy, if you're coming up to me, your name is Brody, I'm like, I don't want to know anything about you. Honestly, I'll use any chance I can just to bring it up. Just Lost. Just watch Lost. Don't watch this movie. Watch Lost. If you haven't already, just watch Lost. It's the best show ever to exist, ever. Better than anything that this is going to be, I promise.
I'm sure Lost is better than anything Plane will deliver. But again, we'll have to wait till the end of January of next year to find out. Now, something we won't have to wait as long for is the movie that we're about to talk about next. Wow, that was a very Perd Hapley from Parks and Recreation intro there. The next movie we're going to talk about is the movie we're going to talk about next. And that is for Santa Clauses, a Christmas miniseries created for Disney Plus and based on the Santa Claus film series. In the series, Scott Calvin is on the brink of his 65th birthday and realizes that he can't be Santa forever. He's starting to lose a step in his Santa duties, and more importantly, he's got a family who could benefit from a life in the normal world, especially 2 sons, one that grew up in Lakeside, Illinois, and one that grew up at the Pole. With a lot of elves, children, and family to please, Scott sets out to find a suitable replacement Santa while preparing his family for a new adventure in a life south of the pole. Reprising their roles from the film series are Tim Allen, Elizabeth Mitchell, speaking of Lost, Eric Lloyd, and David Krumholtz. Let's go, Bernard. He was my man when I was a kid. Very excited to see that he's in this. I'll just be honest to start here. I haven't actually seen the third Santa Claus. I was at a stage where I wasn't watching that type of movie, and the reviews were pretty poo-poo. But at least the first Santa Claus it's a holiday staple and one of my favorite holiday movies from that time. So, what do we think about the Santa Clauses, a new Disney Plus series coming?
It doesn't look like you or anyone else in the entire world will have to watch Santa Claus 3 for this one, thank goodness. I also have not seen Santa Claus 3, and it's been a long time since watching Santa Claus 1 and 2. But yeah, I did get a little bit of a pop when Bernard showed up here. I was kind of like, oh, it's that guy. And I didn't remember who he was. I had to look it up. But I'm stoked to see him back. Eric Lloyd is back as Charlie. You can see how much he's aged since the first one. It's absolutely nuts.
That made me feel super old.
Right?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Whoa. And then, yeah, of course, Juliet is here. Elizabeth Mitchell as Carol. She's just so lovely on screen. So I'm really intrigued by this. I'm honestly, I didn't think that there was going to be as much Tim Allen in this show when it was originally announced. Even when the teaser came out, I was kind of getting the vibe. I was like, he's going to show up for the first episode, maybe the first and last episode or the first 2 episodes or something like that. And then it's really going to be up, to his kids that he has with Carol and maybe Carol herself to kind of carry the story forward. But it looks like he's in the entire run of these 6 episodes. So I'm really intrigued. I'm intrigued to see who the new Santa is. I thought it might have been Laura San Giacomo's character, but apparently she's playing a character called Befana, the Christmas Witch. And I was like, okay, that's so she's not the new bad Santa or whatever. But I just want to know why all these elves keep getting Thanos snapped away, and how they have access to these multiversal portals that they seem to be flying through. I'm like, there's clearly some MCU influence on the world of the Santa Clauses, but. Yeah, man, I'm very cautiously optimistic for it because I don't know.
As a fan of all the Santa Claus movies, the third one isn't as bad as it is, as everyone says it is. But then again, I really like Martin Short, and his Jack Frost is incredible. So he's enough for me to watch that one almost yearly because I believe I watched all 3 of them last year. So the news has me very excited to see everyone return, especially David Krumholtz. The story seems interesting too. It seems like they're raising the stakes with magic disappearing, and this new threat. Whoever Santa picked, clearly he wasn't the right choice. I'm intrigued. I'm invested in this miniseries already, and we've only got this 2.5-minute trailer. So, yeah, sign me up. I can't wait for release date.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect opportunity. I think there's some great humor. To almost mirror the first movie in watching Tim Allen go from regular guy to Santa Claus. Now he's got to make the opposite adjustment, and I think that'll be rife with funny moments. And then, the stakes seem pretty high, and so we'll just have to wait and see what good old Saint Nick has in his tool belt, his Binford tool belt, to save the day this time.
Well, funny you say that because I was just about to say, like, when he does the ho 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 in the coffee shop in this trailer, I was like, oh, that was just Tim Allen. Like, that was just the ho ho ho, like the noise that he makes right throughout that. And I was like, it's an intriguing.
I mean, he leans pretty heavily on his Tool Time character in the first one, from what I can remember. That was right at the peak of Tool Time or Home Improvement. So, I can, he brings out the anytime he can. But yeah, we won't have to wait too much longer, as this one's going to be sliding down our chimneys on November 16th, which for me is a perfect time to sort of start the Christmas season. Right in the middle of November is that perfect little pocket to sort of bring out that festive cheer.
Yeah, I always try and make my mom hold off till November 11th, just after Remembrance Day. Give the soldiers and the veterans their day and our day of remembering why we get to enjoy all these amazing things nowadays. So, yeah, I agree with you totally. Perfect time to start revving up for that Christmas cheer.
I like that. Although, go into any store right now and go in there last week, so we're not even at Halloween yet, and it's candy canes and mistletoe everywhere. They're just going to start promoting Christmas in June eventually, but I like Christmas too, so that's kind of okay for me. Just don't let my wife hear me say that. All right, let's move into our final trailer, which is once again revisiting a beloved Disney classic. This trailer is for Disenchanted, a sequel to the universally beloved 2000 film Enchanted. In the film, it's 10 years after her happily ever after, and Giselle, Robert, and Morgan move from Manhattan to a new house in the suburb of Monroeville. The community is overseen by Malvina Monroe, who has nefarious intentions for the family. When problems arise, Giselle uses the magic wand to wish that their lives were the perfect fairy tale. However, the spell backfires and everything goes out of control, with Giselle rushing to save her family and her homeland of Andalasia, before the clock strikes midnight. Returning for the fun are Amy Adams, Patrick Dempsey, James Marsden, and Idina Menzel. I got that right. Yes. Take that, John Travolta. Gabriella Baldacchino replaces Rachel Covey, while Maya Rudolph, Yvette Nicole Brown, Jayma Mays, Oscar Nunez, and Griffin Newman join the magical cast. So, guys, what do we think? I haven't seen Enchanted since I first saw it in theaters back in 2007, but I remember loving it. Can't wait to watch it again in preparation for this one.
Yeah, I think, didn't we have a deal that if I watched Hocus Pocus 1 before Hocus Pocus 2 that you'd revisit and rewatch this the first Enchanted before Disenchanted? Was that the deal we had?
That's an easy deal. If I agree to that, I will stick to it. No problem.
Very cool. I think after the teaser for this movie, it was when was that? Like a few months ago. I was already on board, but now honestly, getting right at the beginning, seeing Idina Menzel and James Marsden singing, I was just like, okay, I'm so ready for this. I'm so excited to hear the music that comes out of this. And it does really seem like, we had some speculation on that teaser trailer where we thought, yeah, Giselle's going to become an evil stepmother. And here we can see, especially with them showing Morgan in this trailer, that, yeah, she very much will become sort of the evil stepmother. But I think the magic is going to kind of go throughout everyone in Monroeville. It seems as though her daughter, because you sort of see her daughter in like sort of a frilly dress, and she kind of has a bit of an accent when she says, "Please, stepmother," and you're like, oh, okay, so it's affecting everyone except for seemingly Idina Menzel and James Marsden, who I think might sort of have to play some of like the hero role in the third act of this movie. So, dude, I'm really excited for this one. I think the outside world becoming more like Andalasia is kind of a cool contrast to the first one, kind of what we were just talking about with what's going on with the Santa Clauses. But now it's the opposite, where instead of her coming from a magical land, the land around her is maybe becoming too magical. Yeah, man, I'm stoked for this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, the name Disenchanted seems to extend more past the Amy Adams character now and applies to almost her whole family with the big move, the daughter losing all her friends, him having to commute and, give up all his time to work, basically. It seems like maybe everyone isn't happy, and that's why the spell takes such a wicked twist, is because there's so many people wanting more fairy tale in their life, if you will. I'm fully stoked to see everyone back in their roles again. I love the first one, the humor of again, poking fun at fairy tales through a modern lens, and again, bringing the fairy tale to the real world just gives you even more opportunities to do that. And I'm fully on board for all the new cast and everything like that. Just, yeah, excited all around.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect combination of bringing back the nostalgia from the first one, but making it different enough that it will feel necessary. It'll feel worth it, and I'm very excited. The movie comes around November 24th. Maybe we'll talk with our good friends over at Disney Plus Canada to see if we can't sneak our hands on this one a little early and let you know our thoughts before it comes out. But hopefully it's just as fun, magical, and thoroughly enjoyable as that first movie. But that will do it for trailer time. Before we close the program, we're going to move into our segment Whatcha, where we discuss something outside of trailer time and the news that we're watching. So yeah, we're just going to jump right in with you, Darce. What you been up to lately?
Oh, again, just building a lot of Lego lately and then getting ready for Halloween. What I have been watching, though, I've been catching up on Avenue 5 over on Crave or HBO. Again, that first season happened so long ago, I kind of forgot about it, that when this second season was announced or, came about, I was already 4 episodes behind. So I had a nice, 4-episode binge to catch up, and I love all the characters on that show. The cast is what sells me on that show. I mean, Josh Gad as Judd, and then Hugh Laurie as the captain. Like everyone about that show, everything about that show and the cast makes me love it even more. And again, I keep going back for more.
Yeah, it was one that I had started, and then I think I fell off before getting to the finale, like much like you. But yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. I think Zach Wood's character, who plays
good.
Matt, is so good in that show. Yeah, you know what? It's fun to, like, again. It's not a great thing that it says that I fell off of it and somewhat forgot about it. But at the same time, like, the ability to get to go back and revisit it. Have you started the second season yet, Darcy, or has it started yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
I was 4 episodes behind. I had finished the first season and I loved it the entire time. And then COVID happened and the pandemic and everything like that kind of slowed down production, and I didn't even know if there was going to be a second season. So again, seeing those 4 episodes after the fact, it was really fun to come back and again have that much to dive into, because again, the characters are so great and they don't miss a beat despite how much time has passed. Like, they're all still as, cocky or vain as you can imagine, because that's where all the problems spawn from the show, is the people's hubris and vanity, and I just love it so much.
Cool.
Now, Darce, that is one that I watched the first season way back when. But, as we've mentioned, it was so long ago. Do they do a good job of sort of recapping everything that happened in that first season before the second season starts, or would you benefit from doing a rewatch going into it?
You would definitely benefit from doing a rewatch. What I did is I just watched the final episode of the first season because I kind of forgot where things ended
That's
off.
a good idea.
And
Yeah.
it picks up very, almost directly after that first season. So I at the very least watched episode whatever 8 or 10 it was of the first season, and then come into the new one, because it'll set you up perfectly for what's transpiring in this one. And just the returning characters and the way they bring back some people you wouldn't expect to see is just hilarious, and I love everything about it.
Awesome. I might be checking that one out very soon. But in the meantime, Nate, what you been up to?
I got something a little bit different for this watch. This past weekend, for my first time ever, I attended HalCon here in Halifax. And, obviously we've been to Fan Expo and, Darcy and I and well, you too, Kevin, we've been to Star Wars celebrations and we've been to San Diego Comic-Cons. This is a very different type of convention. It's a fan-run convention, but I will say, for as sort of small as it was, the energy and the love for this event from the surrounding community that were in attendance was probably the best part. Getting to see families walking around, full Power Rangers and Green Rangers, like the shortest little one there, and it was really, really lovely to see, and I think that's kind of what was the best part about it for me. There's some noticeable differences. The vendor section is much smaller than anything I've ever seen before, which is interesting because obviously that means there's not a massive emphasis on just spending money at the con. I did still spend a little bit, but I will say I probably
I was going to say, you still managed.
You found a way to spend money.
But I will say I think it's probably the least I've ever spent on a convention, at a convention. I did manage to pick up some really dope art pieces. There's no artist alley. It was kind of like the vendors and the artists are in the same hall. But I did, shout out to Molly Nemisek at Jackface on Instagram, as well as I got some beautiful Studio Ghibli Princess Mononoke art with holofoil on it from a person named Bo, who goes by at Cypetree, CYPRITREE, Cypetree on Instagram. It was really cool to see these artists that are kind of coming from all over Canada. Some of them who I did see in Toronto at Fan Expo, and have traveled all over Canada just to make it to the con. The food, obviously, pizza, convention pizza. But I will say, Boston Pizza, shout out to this family-run Boston Pizza who nonstop lineups, and they had their kids working with them, making pizzas and stuff. I was like, you go. And I made sure to get a slice from them on each day of the con. Guest highlights for me included Bethany Downer, who's the Chief Science Communication Officer for the James Webb Space Telescope. Really interesting. I thought, I was sitting there, I'm like, Darcy, I think would really dig this.
Yeah, I would.
This
Space
panel.
Is sick.
it was really cool. She talked about she's hoping to become the first Atlantic Canadian in space, and she put a picture up on the screen that just had me captivated, which was the Wright brothers' first flight taking off, and then a rocket taking off in 2003. And she's like, "These are 100 years apart," and I was like, that's crazy to think about. It's not something that you're normally, that's not normally put in context for you too often. And she just talked about the fact that, science fiction has and will become science fact, and just kind of going through all the different things that we've seen in science fiction from 2001: A Space Odyssey all the way to Star Wars, and just how that all works. Really, really fascinating stuff. Look up Bethany Downer if you get a chance. She's got some really interesting stuff on the net about her work.
That sounds awesome, because I know you were a little skeptical just about how this sort of scaled down convention would work, but it sounds like it was able to find its own sort of identity and its own sort of unique panels and everything like that.
Yeah, man. And then Tanner Zipchin obviously was there. If you've ever seen a movie at Cineplex a little while ago, maybe pre-pandemic, he would be the person that you'd see on there at all times. Interestingly enough, Tanner Zipchin, he's a little soured by his experience of being let go from Cineplex. Unfortunately, I won't say the story here, but essentially they fired him because he was too loved. There was a hashtag going around that they thought he started, and they didn't want him to be a part of their company anymore. It was stupid. Really dumb. But then Will Friedle, who is Eric Matthews on Boy Meets World, it was so lovely to see him connecting with fans, to see the fans that would come up to him that just are kind of, they talk about their bouts with depression and their bouts with anxiety, and just like his character and Boy Meets World just getting to be that thing that really helped them through that moment. Really, really lovely to see. He's got a podcast that he mentioned called I Hear Voices with him and Christy Carlson Romano from Kim Possible, and they interview various voice actors. I listened to the Rob Paulson episode, and it is fantastic. Highly, highly recommend if you want a pod. There's my real watch is that podcast. But then, just to kind of round it out, 3 really great events. A geeky burlesque show. Had someone walking around as Tuxedo Mask pulling roses from their pants, and it was very intriguing. I don't want to misgender them, so I'm not sure, if they were a boy or a girl, but I was very attracted to them. And I also will say the woman taking her clothes off singing "Let It Go" was also and she was singing "Let It Go." At first I was like, oh, she's lip syncing. No. She was singing "Let It Go" in full voice, and she was amazing. But she also was just stripping at the same time. So that was really, really interesting to see that. And then Pokemon Bingo, really, really awesome. Highly recommend Pokemon Bingo. And then the closing ceremonies, where it was actually revealed that for the first time ever, they sold out the convention center. Over 1,100 tickets were sold. But you couldn't tell. It didn't feel crammed or stuffed. It's a big enough space for a small enough event that it just felt still nice and calm and not too busy and crowded Fan Expo and taking a half an hour to go from building to building. Okay, if you're listening. But
Go outside. It's faster.
Yeah, I'm sure. But to see the staff that was on stage for the closing ceremonies, how much passion and dedication they have for this event and the community surrounding it. Again, it all really brought it back to such a lovely time. My review would be, don't go all 3 days. I don't think you need to. Pick and choose the moments. You might even be able to just go for a half day on one of the days, or literally go for a panel on one of the days, and then you can sort of go around the Halifax area. But really, really fun stuff. If you're ever in Halifax at the end of October, I think their next dates are October 27th next year, 8th and 9th. So definitely check out HalCon. It was a lot of fun. There's my mini review of HalCon.
Nice. I'm flying out just for a geeky burlesque show.
Dude,
That's right
I'm
up my
telling you,
alley.
man.
I'm in.
Yeah. It was great. 18 plus.
And just the allure of Tuxedo Mask.
Yes, absolutely.
Still, after all these years.
Yeah, singing to what were they? They were dancing to "Kiss from a Rose," obviously, and just pulling roses from their pants and just throwing them to the audience. It was amazing.
That's awesome. Well, I myself haven't had a chance to watch too much. It's been a busy week, but with the Halloween season upon us, my wife and I have have traditions that we do every few years. We kind of stagger it because we keep adding, we'll watch this every year before Halloween, and it just gets to be too much. For instance, this year we didn't get a chance to watch Addams Family and Addams Family Values, which we always like to watch. We did get to watch 2 Hocus Pocuses earlier in the month and everything. But one thing we always throw on, it's a perfect background show for when we're carving pumpkins, is The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. We do a little marathon of that. And I got to say, when I first started doing Halloween stuff with my wife over a decade ago, it seemed a daunting task at 22 or 23 episodes, but they are now at 33 Treehouse of Horror episodes, which is too long to even watch in a single pumpkin carving session, even though that takes us hours and hours and hours. So we ended up having to finish it off last night after we cleaned up all the decorations, handed out all the candy and everything, but we did it. We watched all 33 episodes, and I gotta say, this year's episode was quite interesting. If you're a fan of the anime Death Notice, I believe it's called.
Yeah, Death Note. Oh. Yeah. I saw
Death
like a
Note,
clip.
yeah. And so they brought in an outside animation studio to turn all the Simpsons characters into
awesome.
What would you call them, anime avatars or something. It's unlike any episode, even just 1/3 of an episode skit. It's unlike anything they've ever done, and it just looked really, really cool. So that was a neat spin on an old Halloween classic.
Well, I know what I'm watching after we're done here, because that sounds amazing.
Seriously. And is this on, do they have a playlist on Disney Plus for the Halloween Horrors?
They do have now a Halloween Treehouse of Horrors playlist right under The Simpsons.
Okay.
Now, at first, it's a little finicky. At some points, it's like they just sent a link from the episode from whatever season it's from. So you'll be watching the episode, it'll finish, and then it'll just go to, say, episode 6 of season 4.
Oh, no.
And you're like, oh, well, so we had to keep exiting out of that episode and finding the next one. But towards the end of it, for whatever reason, they were all just running in succession, and you could go one to back to back to back to back to back. And I just shout out to what might be my favorite skit in the Treehouse of Horrors of all time is still the Harry Potter one. I love that. I love just poor Najiri Smithers eating Burns and crying. Bart turning the frog into this grotesque frog wizard. Blah. Every moment I live is agony is still a line I say when I'm not feeling very well. Yeah, so it's always fun to revisit some. It's crazy now just to think that I've seen some of these episodes like 30 times. But there were a few from later seasons because we never get all the way to the end of it. But this year we did it, so there were some new ones. We got to watch about 5 or 6 new ones, including this year's. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. And I guess I'll be watching 34 of the suckers next year while carving pumpkins. So something to look for, because this show's just going to go on until we're long in the grave and gone, I think. Unbelievable. So, yeah, well, that is it for This Week in Geek. Thanks for tuning in wherever you listen to podcasts. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and leave us a glowing review. We always appreciate the love. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on this week's news, you can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or if that's a little too plain for you, and you're more of a ho-ho-ho, reach us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT and Instagram at WeAreGeekcentric. As always, we have plenty of awesome content to check out. Our ongoing watch club for the Andor series on Disney Plus is well underway. We have our review for the Netflix stop-motion movie Wendell and Wild. Our review for the Netflix series Blockbuster is coming up later this week, so check that out. We also have our upcoming spoiler-free review for Black Panther coming on November 8th, plus a very special interview, which we'll be sharing on Monday. Speaking of interviews, we have a ton of awesome interviews with the cast and crew of some of the biggest and best movies and TV shows to come your way this year. You can check those out wherever you listen to podcasts, or if you want to see our beautiful smiles and charming personalities in person, we can do that at youtube.com/geekcentric. Plus, just like the show you just listened to, we have our weekly This Week in Geek show where we look at all the latest news and trailers from the Geekiverse. There's just a lot of stuff to go check out, something for everyone, so please check it out. Leave us a review so we know what you thought. But until next time, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me, and as we say,
love ya.
Laters.
Get home safe, guys.